All right, a new challenger has just stepped into the AI ring. And folks, this one looks like it's aiming to totally shake up the dominance of the big closed-source giants. Today, we're going to dive deep into DeepSeek V3.2, an open-source model that might, just might, be the one to close that performance gap for good. So for a while now, we've all seen this trend in the AI world, right? The huge proprietary models, the ones from the big labs, they just kept getting better and better, faster and faster. And it kind of felt like the open source models were just struggling to keep up. That performance gap, it wasn't just sitting there, it was getting wider.
So what's been the holdup? Well, analyses have basically boiled it down to three big problems. First off, a lot of open source AI has been running on older, less efficient architecture. Think of it like an older engine. Problem number two, not enough cache or, well, compute power for that super important fine-tuning phase after the main training is done. And third, they've been kind of weak when it comes to being smart agents, actually doing complex multi-step tasks.
But that's where our story changes. A new challenger has just entered the scene. So let's meet DeepSeek V3.2. This thing was built from the ground up to tackle those exact three problems and go toe-to-toe with the big champions. And its mission? Well, it sounds simple, but it's wildly ambitious. Deliver top-tier, elite performance, but without the insane computational cost. It's all about being powerful and practical.
Okay, so the big question is, how on earth did they do it? The secret sauce, it turns out, is in three key breakthroughs, and each one is designed to directly attack one of those problems we just laid out. Let's get into it. First on the list is something called DeepSeek Sparse Attention, or DSA for short. You can think of this as the brand new engine under the hood. It's a totally redesigned way for the AI to pay attention and process information, and it's especially good with really long stuff, like huge documents or long-winded conversations. And this slide gives you the perfect analogy. The old way, what they call vanilla attention. It's like being forced to read an entire book, cover to cover, just to find one single piece of information. So thorough, but incredibly slow. DeepSeek's new approach? It's like using the book's index. It just skips right to the important pages, way, way faster and so much more efficient. And this is where the magic really happens. For the tech folks watching, this drops the computational complexity from O of L squared down to O of LK, which is a massive, massive deal. For the rest of us, it just means that tasks that involve a ton of information, like summarizing a huge report, are now way, way faster and a whole lot cheaper to run.
All right, innovation number two. This one goes right after that refinement problem. The team at DeepSeek came up with a new training process that lets them pour a ton of computational power into polishing the model after the initial training's already done. This is all about sharpening its reasoning skills to a razor's edge. And when I say a ton of investment, I'm not kidding. Get this, they spent more than 10% of their entire pre-training budget just on this post-training phase. For an open source model, that is a huge, huge deal. It's just not something you typically see. And that brings us to the third and final piece of this puzzle, tackling that weak agent problem. What they did was build this incredible pipeline that just automatically generates a whole universe of complex tasks. It's like a virtual training ground to teach the model how to use tools like web search or a coding environment and how to actually think through problems step by step. And just look at the scale of this thing. It's not a small-time operation. We're talking about over 1,800 different environments generating more than 85,000 complex prompts. This, right here, is how you train an AI to go beyond just answering questions and to start actually doing things in the world. Here's a perfect example to show you what I mean. This isn't just, what's a good hotel? It's a complex planning task. I'm planning a trip. If I book a luxury hotel over 800 CNY, then I need to cut my food budget to under 350 CNY. See? There's logic there. Conditions. To solve that, you need to be more than a chatbot. You need to be an agent. Okay, so the tech is super impressive, right? 3 huge innovations. But here's the real question. Does it work? Let's get to the proof. How does DeepSeek V3.2 actually stack up against the competition? Well, the proof is right here in the numbers. Just look at this showdown. On these tough reasoning benchmarks, DeepSeek is right there. I mean, neck and neck with models like GPT-5 and Gemini 3.0. But then look down at the agent tasks. On Tool Decathlon, it's actually beating GPT-5 and is right on the heels of Gemini.
This isn't just catching up anymore. This is competing at the very top.
And if that wasn't impressive enough, the researchers themselves just drop this bombshell in their paper. They say, hey, we've also got this other version, a high compute variant they call Spatial. And they claim it surpasses GPT-5 and has reasoning skills right on par with Gemini 3.0 Pro. Wow. So what does on par with Gemini 3.0 Pro actually mean? It means this thing is pulling down gold medal level results in some of the hardest math and programming competitions on the entire planet. We're talking the International Mathematical Olympiad, the Informatics Olympiad. This isn't just good for open source. This is world-class, elite stuff. But remember, performance was only half the story, right? The other goal was efficiency. And just look at this chart. The cost for pre-filling, which is basically just processing your initial prompt, has absolutely cratered compared to their last version. That new DSA architecture we talked about, this is it paying off, big time. And it's the exact same story when you look at the decoding cost, which is the cost to actually generate the answer. The savings are huge, so you're getting this top-tier, world-class performance for a tiny fraction of the cost. I mean, that's pretty much the holy grail in AI development. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture here. We have a super powerful, super efficient, and fully open source model. So what? Why does this matter so much for the future of AI? Well, this really feels like a landmark moment. It's proof that with the right ideas, the open source community doesn't have to be stuck playing catch-up forever. It shows that open source can innovate, it can lead, and it can build models that are just as good, if not better in some ways, than what's coming out of the biggest, most well-funded labs. Now, let's keep it real. The creators are totally upfront about the model's current limits. It doesn't have quite the same massive library of world knowledge yet. It can sometimes use more words than it needs to. And yeah, on the absolute most ridiculously difficult problems, the frontier models still have an edge. But the key is, they know this, and these are exactly what they're working on next. So here's the bottom line, the most important takeaway. DeepSeek V3.2 isn't just a slightly better version of what came before. It's built differently. It proves that open source AI isn't just chasing the giants anymore. It's finding smarter, more efficient ways to get to the top. It's about being better and more clever. And that leaves us with one final and I think really exciting question. Now that a model this powerful and this efficient is out there, open to everyone, to every developer, every researcher, every startup, anywhere in the world, what's going to be built with it next? The possibilities are pretty mind-boggling.